So, aquatic intelligence, remembering more of who we are, an embodied journey of water's capacities for living life on Earth. I had the luck, or I chose well, to be born in Greece, in a country that for me has a very specific color of blue and a very specific light quotient, which is part of my remembering as the place and the frequency of this place. And I grew up and I currently live by choice on the northwestern corner of an island called Corfu, Greece. And this is the blue I see every day. This islands of the north coast have kind of been my north in life, my blue line. And this is where I grew up fishing and diving with my father. So water, let's say, has been part of my upbringing. And in time, through teachers I met along the way, I woke up or I realized or I imagined that the island I live on is the shape of a mermaid. And so Corfu for me became the mermaid-shaped island, which kept unfolding this love of water into a sort of a way or a path that had its own momentum. It kept unfolding me, whether I wanted to or not. It kept showing up and kept asking me to step into positions of leadership through water, with water, and for water. And last year was huge, was even bigger sort of culmination of that process where we had a leading hotel that is also leading the way in marine conservation in the Ionian Sea, and together with my colleague Chariklia from Thessaloniki Mermaids and the dive school I collaborate with, our projects got bigger and deeper, and we're holding space for even bigger change. And the last project of 2025 was bringing together divers and fishermen and children and the local community, and we were sponsored by the Ionian Environment Foundation to remove ghost nets from Gravia, which is this little island off the coast where I live. And I found that my understanding and experience of water was what was facilitating the process. I was holding conversations and holding space for change through the capacities of water. For example, listening like water. And I will explain myself a little bit further. But for me, it's important to sort of outline the journey because I've spent the last 15, 18 years really immersed in water daily. And the depths of my work involves pre and perinatal processes of remembering our birth story or integrating the impact of being born. And doing that in a jacuzzi, which is my womb pool. And as well as supporting others through that, it's been part of my own process. And what happened for me last year was, okay, so it's time to find your feet on land. I also realized that the amount of people that are actually wanting to be submerged and, explore the depths of pre and perinatal memory might not be that many. There's quite a few and there's a growing number, but it's, I would say, niche would be the marketing term, but quite unique work. And I've been supporting pregnancy and birth with water on an island and supporting home water births. And then again, the amount of families that are ready to prepare their waters for fertility and conception and support the entire birth journey with water are amazing, but there are few, realistically speaking. And the babies that come, you can tell the difference in the babies that have been supported through their birth with water and their entire pregnancy with water. They're different in the playground, and yet there are few. And remembering the depths of our stories is, let's say, it's for me a devotion of a lifetime, this work. And yet I realize it's not for everyone. Because aquatic intelligence is the intelligence from which we were born. And remembering this for myself has been through my own birth story immersed in water. And I know through experience that we all have access to this. And in 2025, I realized that not everyone wants to have a prenatal exploration, or not everyone feels safe enough to support a home water birth yet. Or not everyone wants to put on a mermaid tail and swim in the open sea. Yet I believe through this understanding of water, there is so much untapped natural inner resource, human capacity, potency that we haven't even explored yet. That is part of our birth story, that is part of our innate wisdom. Before we start looking for any kind of intelligence outside of ourselves. And that was for me my sort of aha moment. Okay, we're looking for artificial intelligence, whereas this aquatic intelligence is so at the core of who we are. And how can that come to the surface? I believe it so, not just passionately, but through the work itself. I have seen the changes, the long-lasting changes that it can bring. And there is, of course, the pressing matter of urgency to embody our expanded capacity here, now, in 2026, for even bigger sustainable change, to make sure that not only planet Earth and her waters, but also future human beings can thrive. And I'm sure that if for some reason you're on this call this evening, you're part of this. You're also bringing about change. You're also supporting transformation one way or another, whether it's within yourselves or with others, either one-to-one or in groups. So how can we create even bigger waves to change the tide? And when I say changing the tide, is not that I want to interfere with any natural phenomenon or cycle. But if there is a reality that wants to go one way, I want to at least say there is another capacity that is natural, that is human, that is at the depths of who we are. And perhaps if we show up for it clearly enough, it is enough to bring the changes that we're all wanting to bring, and why perhaps we've chosen to be here and now. So I asked myself, what is it? What is aquatic intelligence, and how can anyone use it for living life on Earth? And by this, I mean in your personal life, as well as in your practice or businesses. And when I mean businesses, I don't just mean in your therapeutic business. I also mean in, I don't know, in your school or in your classroom. If you're in a position of leadership in politics or businesses or environmental organizations, how is AI a resource for you to show up more fully and hold space for these changes? And this is how the idea of an online journey was born. How can I bring the capacities of water for life on land? And how can aquatic intelligence support you here and now, not just in August during a retreat or in the jacuzzi, which is very sort of specialized and unique moments for sure. But how can water or the capacities of water support us every day? Not as something that we learn how to do, but something that we are remembering and allowing it to come to the surface. So what I'm calling the journey is an embodied process that will take place online through 9 live classes. And it's going to start on the 22nd of January. And it will unfold every 2 weeks on a Thursday. And every 2 weeks, we'll be connecting with a different capacity of water. Now, there's a reason why it's this amount of time. And for me, time is a wave. This is a fairly regular looking wave, and a wave has a length and a frequency and a rhythm and a tempo. And this particular wave is going to unfold 9 times over a period of around 12 to 13 weeks. So it will end at the end of April. But before you start sort of thinking, oh, I'm calculating the dates, because I'm going to look at that at the end, the reason why it's taking time is that neurologically, it takes 21 to 28 days to change a pattern. And I don't just mean changing the pattern of thinking, I mean changing behavior. And when we start working with water, we actually have the opportunity to change physiology as well. Certain patterns that live in the body and how we can change those. And through experience, I've seen that some changes run deep and can get scary, especially birth-related patterns. And yet, let's say the fastest way through some of those waves is through play and together. So although this journey might feel deep, it's also going to be light and playful, and it'll be made easier by journeying together. And I do believe that all those qualities are resources for the future. Connecting with our playfulness, finding ease, and doing things together. Because when we change the wave, we change the pattern. And we might have been living with a certain wave for 51 years, but maybe if I change the wave in some way, I can be even more aligned with my timeline, with my wave, and an even bigger capacity. And so this journey will be an individual process, as well as a collective one, as well as one that we take together. Because together we can create a bigger impact through the ripple effect of water. Simple, but powerful. Because something that is unleashed from the inside out has the capacity to ripple out and create long-lasting, sustainable change, rather than something that comes from the outside in. In the process of this wave and in this timeline, we will organically form a single cell, which carries the capacity to facilitate change in our personal lives, as well as in our spheres of influence. Creating change together is a mindset shift. And I'm excited and curious about what will come to life here through us and through the journey that we take together. What else each and every one of us will bring to the waters of our togetherness. There might be projects that unfold, collaborations that unfold, and we hold that capacity together in wherever we are around the world at the end of the day. But first, it's about remembering your unique and authentic way and why you said yes to being here in this lifetime, at this time, not just on this class this evening. Like really waking up to our capacity even more fully. And I think I shared at the beginning, from being underwater the past 15 years to being online is a reach. It's vulnerable. But it's a reach that I chose to take and that I'm willing to take, and I feel I have the capacity to do it. And I'm certainly not doing it alone. And I believe we can all do it. For sure. The wave doesn't always follow a straight line. There's a spiral, and we all have different patterns. And sometimes it feels like we might be going back to the beginning. And in my experience and understanding of water's capacities, there's something called continuum. We've sort of born to believe that there is separation, there's a before and after, and there's an ending. And yet Continuum says that start somewhere. Catch the wave here today. And it will connect to what came before, and it will connect to what comes after, and it will create coherence. So it really is about starting here and now, whatever that here and now is. And we will begin to unravel that wave together. And these are some of the personal or individual capacities that we might encounter along the way, either individually or collectively, to self-regulate, to contain resource for ourselves. Yeah, put the mask on first. To create time and space for ourselves from the inside out. To really feel that our capacity for change and what we're bringing into this life feels expanded, and there's a response to it, and that the sort of impact we have deepens, and how we show up for that is clear and transparent. And then when we are facilitating the change and it's happening, we can check in with each other and say, oh my God, it's happening. It's happening. And how to ease that transition, because some of the changes that many of us are making feel like an ending, feel like the sky is falling, feel like all structures are collapsing, and how this AI can ease the way through in the same way that it eases birth through the birth canal, or through any contracted space that feels like trauma. It eases the transition in finding a way through. Into a fuller version of ourselves, into this multi-dimensional capacity that we have. So if we feel fluent underwater, how can I also become fluent online? If I speak Italian, how can I also learn French? And if my comfort zone is on earth, how can I also step into the water? The children that we are seeing are certainly ready. So how can we find fluence and togetherness among our parts so we can show up more fully? And these are just 9, because there will be 9 classes, which is why I'm referring to 9. Here and now. Believe water's first capacity, the moment we step in it, whether it's the bath or the shower or the pool or the sea, it brings us into the here and now. Firstly, because I can't take my phone with me. So in baby swimming classes, it invites parents, for example, to really be in the here and now. And right here, right now, I'm going to ask you to just step back from the screen. I think you can all hear me. You don't really need to see me. And just I invite you to feel the back of your spine. And if, perhaps if you have a sofa, that's great. And you can kind of lean back as if you're about to sort of lie back into your sofa and read a good book. Like that's the kind of lay back I'm inviting you into. Yeah. And how safe would it feel if I just asked you for a moment to just close your eyes, just briefly in your own space? And to help you do that, you might want to bring your fingers on your neck or your wrist to just find your pulse and notice your heartbeat and your breath. And invite yourself to just drop a little bit deeper into the here and now. And you might notice that your breath changes. Suddenly there's a yawning or an even deeper breath. Very good. And the next thing I'm going to ask you to do is really quite simple and actually quite playful. But it does rely on our power of imagination to do so. Some of you have done it with me before, but it's always a pleasure. So I'm going to ask you, without getting up from where you're sitting now, to imagine that you're going to get a bucket of water. You're going to go and get your bucket. It can be plastic, it can be glass, whatever it is. You're not going to actually physically get up and go and get it. Right here and now, we're doing it through the power of our imagination. And you're filling the bucket with the right temperature for you. Like for those that are in snowing conditions, might need a little bit warmer water. Or if you haven't got enough heating in your house, but if you're nice and cozy, just regulate the water to a temperature that feels yummy and just right for you. You can imagine you're dipping your fingers in the water to check it in the same way you would for a baby's bath. Okay, so if everyone now has their bucket of water, you're just going to place it in front of you on the floor. Very good. And now I don't know if you're wearing slippers or shoes or socks. You're just going to take your time to take off your sock. Imagine taking off your sock. And you're just going to dip your toe 1 foot at a time. So you just dip your foot in the water, noticing the change in temperature. Noticing the wetness, the softness. What are the sensory input that the water is giving you, allowing 1 foot to drop at the bottom of the bucket, feeling the yummy warm water, and noticing what the feeling is, not just in your foot, but that might be rising up in your whole body, in fact. And then we have the second foot. Some of you might have already joined your first foot. But how about slowing that tempo down and only now putting this second foot in the water? Or how does that feel? Oh. And here we are with both feet in a bucket of water. How does that feel? I'm already starting to feel a lot more relaxed at doing this evening. I could probably stay with my bucket for the remaining 30 minutes or so. But you may have noticed small or big changes just by imagining your feet in warm water. Just take a moment. Is there something that you notice that really kind of drops for you, like, ah, oh? It can be a physical sensation, an emotional awareness, or a thought, or a picture, or sound, or even smell that might wake up in response. What's important for me is that you don't let the water get cold. So you can take your feet out whenever you're ready, and you can put your warm socks back on. And maybe you can offer the water to the plants rather than just flushing it away. It's just a bucket of water. Because one of the questions that comes up is like, oh, but I don't have access to a pool or a jacuzzi, or I don't live in an island like you, Sophia. And yet, look what you've just touched on just by remembering water. The imprint of water on the body is so strong and powerful. All we need to do is just a simple imagination. Here it comes right back. So we have access to this aquatic intelligence quite simply. And of course, if you happen to live on Corfu or in Greece or in other places close to the water, we do have the luxury and the abundance of those places. But what I am suggesting here is that this aquatic intelligence is enmeshed. It's in the flesh, it's in us, and it can be accessed. If there is something that dropped for you and you were kind of like, oh yeah, you can put it in the chat. You can kind of go verbal. You can go back into your cerebral kind of neocortex of logic, of IQ, and write. But let's say there is a much broader, wider intelligence that includes somehow all others, which is the limbic brain, or sort of the old brain, that understands that it has a capacity that is much vaster in how we move forward and how we take our decisions forward. There is really no wrong or right answer in this. It's what's true and real for you. My nervous system dropped. My energy field relaxed. 9 months to be born. Yes, Katya. Okay. Here are a few words that have come up in the past because I use a bucket of water with pregnant people when we Um, Part of our training, the Aquagenesis training for people that specifically want to go into pre and perinatal experiences, is easy. How easy was that? How easy was access? We think aquatic intelligence, we might think it's something like really complicated. It's easy and it's simple. And it invites even more presence in. It's natural. It connects us back to nature and nature's cycles and rhythms, just in one footbath. And it's choice. It brings back choice. In that here and now moment, it opens us up to an even wider or broader range of choices that we forgot we had. And that, yes, that's powerful. Because other forms of intelligence, like emotional intelligence, can kind of, make us think that the emotion we are riding on right now is the only one and it's never going to end. But when we create space in ourselves here and now, all of a sudden, we have access to a much broader and a much wider range of choices and solutions and answers that can come up to the surface from the inside, whether that's the way the body moves next or the next business move I'm going to make. And that allows us to come up with that together. It's like, wow. So that's a remembering rather than an imagining. And how do we create space and carve out space and time in a rhythm, in a wave that says, I don't have time for this. And it's like, well, all it took was 3 minutes. And how can I add this here and now listening into planning 2026? Into planning how the next online course will unfold and how much space and time I allow for it. And of course, there will be an opportunity to do this in person. Yes, we'll journey online, but this is more of a save the date slide between the 10th and the 13th of June in Corfu, Greece, supported by Patricia, who's also my buddy here, experiencing some of these capacities that we'll explore online. How do they really feel when we bring them to the water? And someone has asked already, do I need to do the online part to come to Corfu? No, you don't. There will be a workbook for the online part. I like pretty pictures. I'm a visual person. So online you will get every 2 weeks a different anchor or protocol or a class or a teaching or an access to that capacity. You can take a picture of this if you want. Please don't share it or distribute it yet. But these are the kind of 9 capacities that we're going to go through. And I can come back to this. I just want to make sure that I complete all the slides by the end and we can come back to that. But I also invite you not to sort of go too much in your IQ here and try and figure it out how it's going to be, because at the beginning of, let's say, the journey or before the next peak of the wave, you'll get an email where I invite you to explore. So, for example, week 1 is remembering that we are one water. My water and your water is connected. And it also means that me and the people in my business or in the school or in my family, we are also one water. And practices that might awaken that and that you can practice in the 2 weeks. And skills that might come out of this. And I'll also give you tasks. Now, this, how deep you want to dive in all of this is really individual. But we will connect, and I will show you how, in sharing, whether it's a picture or a breakthrough or, how personal you make this journey, it's up to you. Like, oh, I had a breakthrough here. Oh, I really want to bring this to my business. So the practice, for example, from week but 1, what is here and now for you? How often in the 2 weeks could you really say you're showing up in the here and now? Because only in the here and now really exists, right? And here and now, I have the choice to respond differently. And through interoception, the capacity to kind of be aware and feel and sense what's going on inside of me that water invites more of. How can I have access to more senses and information to respond to the here and now with? Through an understanding of my fluid body, like my saliva. Like really connecting to the fluid body, the waters inside of me and how they're responding. Because if I forgot to drink water, or my eyes are drying up, there's something saying I'm not in my juiciest capacity. So how does that fluidity also look like in my moves and how I move and the quality of my thoughts? And what's changed looking like in me right now? What's my emotional state? So again, how deep you want to go is up to each and every one of us. I'll be sharing worksheets so you can focus your practice or not at all. And of course, the invitation is to dig deep. 2026 it already feels huge. It's just 5 days in. Any breakthroughs? And I might invite you to share back into the groups, and I will explain what the groups look like. And for me, this isn't kind of a journey I want to take as a kind of, just another online course that, people show up and forget they took. It really isn't. I'm hoping to have the kind of journey where we can deepen together. And by the end of it, we feel like family, like we do water. And I'm also curious to see the collaborations that might come out of it, or even between the people present in the course. There'll be layers of practices. I think I shared this. Yeah. Here we are again, the outcome. So I've shared that twice, but it's an important slide. So I'm going to leave that again. That's sort of my intention is that by the end of the journey, you have felt and you understand what all this means, and you can feel it for yourself. And you can kind of, trace the wave. Like, as well as understanding water's capacities. So in a grounded way, we will start. There's a Google form that you can put, my name is Sophia, and this is my past experience, and this is what I'm bringing to the water. Or you can just call me good old-fashioned way, and we can kind of see if, it's aligned or not, because this isn't kind of, there's no forcing here. There's an invitation for whatever feels true and real and timely to show up. And once you've done that, either we've had a call or you filled in the form, you will receive kind of, this is going to happen week 1. So this is my doula part, wanting to make sure that when I accompany someone on a journey, their whole journey feels safe and secure. And I'm used to doing this in water, whether it's in the jacuzzi or in open water. And I'm also learning how to do this in a way that it feels also supportive and connected online also. There will be a WhatsApp group. If everyone chooses a Telegram group, I'm okay with it. But the point is that it's a group that we can drop things in for easy communication and access. It'll be a private group. Once we start, it's a closed group. And then I've also created a Facebook group. Again, you want to be in or not, it really doesn't matter. But some things are easier, like wherever is easiest for you to access the information and to have a more enjoyable journey at the end of the day. I've made a Google Calendar, which I will share with you, so then you know the dates. You're not feeling lost, like, oh, where was I again? Because what happens when we start creating change, the outside world comes knocking in, right? And how do I create time, and how do I keep the wave going, and where am I? And the outside world can get disorientating. And here we are creating a blue line of continuum through this timeline. And yes, the live class will be recorded on Thursdays from 8 to 10 GR. You'll receive an email on a Monday with the sort of, intention of the next wave. And then I might pop in with just sort of Q&As if I feel there is a lot moving. Payment it's layered, and I will show my next slide of whether you just want to jump in. It's the standard, you watch the classes, you get the recording, and you're in a group. Or you might want to take it deeper. So if you're going in for a deeper transformational journey because you feel that this is the right time to go deeper in yourself, then we'll have group processes on the side. And if you want to bring this to your business, where we start looking at what does really this look like for your individual school, business, family, then we can go deeper together, and then we'll have different layers of support that I'll show up for. Yes, I do ask that people sort of make a commitment before we start, but I also understand that there is a sliding price option, and if people are helped by sort of paying in installments or at the beginning, at the end, that's also okay. For me, the important thing is to enjoy the journey. If you want to save the date, in Corfu, it's the 10th and 13th of June. Now, this information you can get on my website. So you choose your depth, the level of support, your level of connection with the group, so that you become the change. and I'm here to support the process of remembering individually and also collectively. The standard, transformational, individual journey, and a professional pathway. But this is also accessible on my website. And this is the link to the, I don't know if I can share that. Ooh. Perhaps I can put that in the chat. This is the Google form.